Hey guys, Little Baryonyx here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Jurassic World Dominion and how it wasn't how we expected it, or I guess you could say what went wrong with Jurassic World Dominion. No, this video isn't going to be me talking about how much I hate Jurassic World Dominion, because I do think Jurassic World Dominion actually has some good qualities to it. I don't entirely hate the movie, but I don't entirely like the movie. It is my least favourite out of every Jurassic, like all the Jurassic movies. It is my least favourite. That's not to say I don't like it, it's just not as good as the others. But why is that? Why does everyone have a bad perception of Jurassic World Dominion? So let's go and talk about what went wrong with Jurassic World Dominion. Just a quick disclaimer, because I know I'm going to get comments about this in the video. I do not hate Jurassic World Dominion. If someone were to say, hey, do you want to watch Jurassic World Dominion, and they put it on, I would enjoy the film. I don't hate it, it's just a lot of people do, and I'm trying to explain why people may not like Jurassic World Dominion / what happened to Jurassic World Dominion. Okay, now let's get on with the video. To understand what went wrong with Jurassic World Dominion, we need to go back to a time where things were a lot more simpler. Jurassic Park, arguably the best movie of the entire franchise, a classic in many people's eyes. But with fame and success, there would be a sequel, and then another sequel, and then another sequel, and then another sequel, and then another sequel. So, having so many sequels, there's only so much you can do as a movie franchise. We had the second island, like a rescue mission for Jurassic Park 3, a reboot. Then we had the island like exploding and dinosaurs being released into the wild. And then all of that was to lead up to Dominion, the closure of the franchise. But after watching Jurassic World Dominion, the closure to the entire franchise, well, supposedly what we thought it was going to be the closure at the time, I just left feeling underwhelmed. Because this movie had a lot of pressure under it. It was the final movie, at the time we thought it was the final movie to the Jurassic Park franchise, the Jurassic World franchise, the franchise as a whole, bringing back legacy characters, finishing stories with newer characters, and kind of ending the whole franchise. And with that, puts a lot of pressure on the directors, the writers, and anyone who had association with this movie. So they probably wanted to make a compelling story and get it out quick, and they did kind of rush the movie. When COVID struck, it did delay the movie by a year, but also delay production. You have to remember that this movie was filmed and made in 2 parts because of COVID. And then finally, in June of 2022, viewers would get to finally watch Jurassic World Dominion on the big screen. A main problem that we had is our expectations were way too high. We thought this was going to end the entire franchise, but in reality it was it had hints to a bigger new story that we're going to see with Jurassic World Rebirth. But then you'd also, if you look on the other side of the spectrum, you do see a disappointing movie. Going from Fallen Kingdom with the Lockwood Manor, the volcano eruption, dinosaurs in our world, to then going to big bug catastrophe of a movie. Which brings me to my next point, the locusts.
No! It can't be!
Yeah, I think everyone can agree that the locusts absolutely ruined Jurassic World Dominion. Please quote that. For me, the addition of Biosyn doesn't bother me. I know a lot of people be like, oh my god, this movie is meant to be about dinosaurs in the wild. We do get our fair share of that. The Malta scene, which is probably the best scene in the entire film. But the addition of Biosyn is good. It closes the chapter with Lewis Dodgson, the main villain from the original Jurassic Park. I don't mind that. There were a lot of things wrong about it, and it was executed horribly, but it's a good idea to get rid of the main villain. But the locusts, why? There was no purpose. The only reason these were in the film is to bring back the legacy characters together, because then Ellie Sattler and Alan Grant would have never met up and gone to the Biosyn facility with Ian, who's there because he's a philosopher. You know where this is all going. They're going to meet up with the Jurassic World cast, and they're all going to be at the end of the film. So this brings me to my first fix. Get rid of the locusts, then we'd have a much better movie. Just burn them all to the ground. On a more positive note, let's talk about some of the dinosaur designs, which is something that heavily carries this movie. The dinosaur designs in Jurassic World Dominion are some of the best designs in the entire franchise. The Giga looks absolutely amazing. Although it's a bit dull, admittedly, I would have preferred if the Giga had a bit more colour, like the Hammond Collection Giga. Oh my god, that thing is beautiful. But, design-wise, the Giga looks absolutely amazing. One of the other coolest dinosaurs that Dominion added is Morris Intrepidus. We would have never gotten this, such a unique and cool species to add. The design, yeah, it's pretty good. I like it suits the Jurassic franchise, that, sort of realistic but not really realistic look, the little feathering and that's a new head sculpt as well, to be fair. So yeah, well done on the Morris Intrepidus design. I actually really like this one. Next up, the Parasaurolophus design. Oh my god, bro. In Jurassic World Evolution 2, the three, I think there's 3 variants of the Dominion Parasaur. They look absolutely amazing, man. The mix of blues, it has that realistic, but it's subtle realism, but still Jurassic. It looks absolutely amazing. Maybe it's on par with the Lost World Para. That's how good this design is, man. And then the Therizinosaurus. Beautiful combination of colours, the blues and the reds and the green, and the subtle grey/black. Looks absolutely amazing. Such a unique inclusion to the franchise, and it works, but I do not like how it is portrayed. More on that later. See, I told you guys, I'm not here to diss on the movie. I really like some of the designs, but now let's get into some of the other negatives. The plot armor. This may be a hot take, but I think the plot armor in this movie is the worst out of the entire franchise. Now, arguably, plot armor is a problem in all of the Jurassic movies, but in Jurassic World Dominion, it's so blatantly obvious, man. The worst plot armor instance we had, other than Dominion, was probably the Owen Grady pyroclastic flow incident of 2018. But other than that, you have, 9 characters walking away from the Giga, and not a single one of them gets hurt or is nearly endangered, except for Maisie. But you're they're not going to kill a kid, the main character child, at the end of the movie. In the final battle, none of them are going to die. Throughout the entire rest of the movie, none of them are going to die. I knew nothing bad was going to happen to the main cast even, when it was the Malta scene and they survived multiple attacks from the Atrocioraptors that were supposedly brought up to kill and were very accurate killing dinosaurs, just like the Indoraptor. You could not convince me that none of the characters were going to die. If one of the characters, the probability of one of the characters dying was the probability of someone jumping up in their seat in the theatre and screaming, "That was the best movie I have ever seen." Here's a hint. That's a very, very low probability. Now let me go on to one of my... There are a lot of positives. That was just a joke. Please don't hurt me, guys. Please. Anyway, guys, did you know that there was originally meant to be a Plesiosaurus in Jurassic World Dominion? I believe it was meant to replace Pyroraptor in the frozen lake scene, which would have been so much cooler, man. Although Pyroraptor looks cool, like all the designs look cool, it's just so underused. Like there was also another deleted scene with the Pyroraptor that they come across instead of Beta in the tunnels at the end, and Alan Grant finally gets to see an accurate raptor, and it would have been an interaction between Owen Grady and Alan Grant. That could have been the best thing I've ever seen, but they cut it. So yeah, obviously there is a lot of positives and a lot of negatives of this movie. Probably a lot more negatives. The dinosaur designs are cool, dinosaurs are executed perfectly, most of them. The Biosyn plot is overall okay. Could have been better, but I don't think it could have been worse. The locusts, please, that was the worst mistake ever. The main cast coming on because of the locust, it's just so unbelievably like it just seems so fake. My point is, I obviously haven't talked about every positive and every negative. I just wanted to get to this final part, which is the reason I made this entire video. So let's talk about that final fight in Jurassic World Dominion. The Jurassic World Dominion final battle is arguably the least climactic thing since the Jurassic Park 3 ending, and I'm okay with the Jurassic Park 3 ending because it stood out compared to all the others. Although it wasn't as memorable, it's unique, and it's unique in its own way. This Jurassic World Dominion battle seemed so forced, and it just seems like it was executed horribly. There was no kind of... It was just a reference to every old movie. You had Rexy fighting the Indominus, Rexy nearly dies, Blue steps in. You had Rexy fighting the Giga, Rexy nearly dies, Derry steps in, and they both win and roar and go off into their separate ways. It's the exact same as Jurassic World. So let me explain how I think the final battle should have played out. I think we should have had Rexy and Giga both come up to each other, look at each other, recognize each other as enemies, basically, in this entire valley. They would slowly approach each other as, they'd start falling and tripping over, because this is a really unusual environment to be fighting in. After, a bunch of cool action scenes with them both, biting and attacking each other, we would get one scene that would leave fans in shock. Rexy should be thrown over to the ground, onto the floor, barely getting up. The Giga should step down on Rexy. The whole audience would be on the edge of their seats. The main cast is running. They've successfully made it to the helicopter as they watch from above as Rexy is killed in front of their eyes. And before you attack me, let me explain for a second. This was supposed to be the closure of the franchise. What felt like a build-up should have been the ending. Rexy is so old now, she is past the life expectancy of an average Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is probably minus a few years as she's not an actual T-Rex. She's a genetically modified creature. So I think Rexy should have been killed off at the end of Jurassic World Dominion, because let's face it, the Giga did not deserve to be killed. So after Rexy's Rexy's thrown to the ground, everyone thinks, oh, she's just gonna get back up, and then we see the Giga's foot kind of block the camera, and we hear a snap, and then we think it's over for Rexy as she's killed off camera, and then we get a cool scene of the helicopter flying away and the light going onto the Giga as the Giga is now the ruler of the valley. I think having Rexy be killed in such a brutal way would have such an impact and make fans realise that we've been through so much, and it all came to the end in this movie. And Giga, let's face it, Giga didn't deserve to die. Giga should have been the ruler of the valley, and Rexy's so old now, she should have met her demise. Maybe not this exact way, I think this is a bit too brutal, I'm actually kind of getting upset talking about this. Maybe we should have, maybe the ending was okay, but we should have seen Rexy, go off and peacefully, die at the end of the movie. Because that would have had more of an impact. Yeah, okay. I'm changing that. Rexy should have gone off and peacefully, met her demise. Maybe at the very end of the movie, we have everyone going back to their homes and everything. Beta is reunited. We cut back to the Biosyn Valley. Rexy is walking off. roars at the Theory. They recognize each other, and then Rexy goes off to lays down on like a rock or something, and maybe like we get an interaction with the Buck and Doe, and Rexy slowly lays down, rests her head, and shuts her eyes, and then we see like a still like camera shot of Rexy slowly perishing. I know that last statement is very, very controversial, but I think it would have been right, and it would have been hard to accept, but it was probably going to be a good ending to the franchise. So that's my overall opinion on Dominion. 6 out of 10 I rate Jurassic World Dominion overall. But anyway, hope this video is not too controversial. Please understand my opinion. I'd like to hear your own opinions down in the comments. Thanks for watching, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.